Meanwhile, the South African Friends of Israel, together with the South African Prayer Network, are hosting a solidarity prayer for Israel in Katlehong. That's where we find Newzroom Afrika's Ziniko Mhlaba. Ziniko, what's happening there where you are at this hour?
Good afternoon to you, Duduzile, and of course the engagements and of course the prayers are still continuing here in Katlehong, where the South African Friends of Israel are meeting, but also some delegation from Lesotho and people from other churches here in South Africa who are in support of Israel are all gathered here, trying to have conversations, but also briefing each other about the importance of supporting Israel. You will know that South Africa officially has also called for peace talks between the warring factions, which includes Israel. However, the Israel ambassador is joining us now. He's part of the engagements which are taking place here in Katlehong. Ambassador Ali, thank you very much for taking time out to speak to us. I think let's start with the issue of engagements between South Africa and the Israel government. Have there been any talks between the two states, and what nature have they been taking under?
Well, first I have to say that we are here in this church, and it gives us a lot of courage and a lot of moral support to see spiritual leaders, pastors, heads of churches that came here to express their support for Israel. And it's not only support for Israel, it's support for a moral position, because what happened was a terrible, atrocious, murderous attack from the side of the Hamas terrorists on Israeli civilians, innocent people, children, women, old people that were murdered in the most brutal way. We had 1,400 innocent people. Whole families were wiped out. And this gathering here gives us a lot of strength. And we are happy to see that they all have T-shirts with faces of the hostages, of children that were taken away from their parents, of old people, Holocaust survivors. They were kidnapped and hijacked into Gaza and kept now somewhere in the tunnels.
Has the South African government engaged with Israel, whether the Israeli headquarters or your office as an ambassador of Israel in South Africa? Has it reached out to you? Have you reached out to the South African government?
Well, the South African government has its own position. It expressed it times and times again. We respect this position. We don't agree with it, obviously. We think that terror has to be condemned unequivocally, and Hamas should be destroyed. This is our position.
Have they reached out to you, and have you reached out to the government? I think that's the basis of my question.
Well, I just want to say the South African government has its own position. It's not something we agree with, and our position is entirely different. And we call for the government, for all the peace-loving people in South Africa, to express their outright condemnation of this heinous, barbarous attack, and call for the release of the hostages.
All right. The ANC, the governing party here in South Africa, has been saying that, accusing Israel and also your office of not being approachable, of not being proactive, but also collaborating with any forms of talk. They've reached out to you. Did you speak to them in any form?
Well, there have been many statements, many voices from ANC, from the government. We've been hearing them. We are here in South Africa. I have been here for 2 years. I'm here. I'm available. I'm open for any kind of engagement.
All right. Talk to us now about the war that's taking place back there. A lot of people are being killed on both sides. But also what's worrying now is the attack on basic infrastructure, such as hospitals. Is Israel considering ceasefire, especially in regards to the attack of those important infrastructures, such as health facilities?
Yes. Well, I would like to ask you, if you have a country that was attacked by a terrorist organization, let's say like ISIS, would people speak about any kind of negotiations with ISIS?
No, I'm talking about the attack on infrastructure that's there to support people. So is Israel considering exempting those infrastructure so that people on the ground are not affected by political battles that are taking place at a senior level?
Israel is not fighting the people of Gaza. Israel is not trying to destroy infrastructure. Israel is trying to dismantle the terrorist infrastructure of the Hamas. We need to defend our people. We don't want to harm the people of Gaza. Every time the Israel Defense Force has an attack on any area of Gaza, they inform the civilians in advance. We are not trying to kill civilians. This is not our policy. We respect the human lives. And we want the people of Gaza to prosper and develop. But the people of Gaza are currently under the regime, the very oppressive regime of the Hamas. And the Hamas dictates what is...
Very last question. The U.S. has said that they are working on mobilizing resources to support Israel. Do you know what form of support is this, and in what nature and under what conditions are they supporting you?
Well, the U.S. provided us, actually it's not only the US, it's also the European Union and many other countries. We have received messages of support from all over the world. I think people understand that it's not a political issue, it's a moral issue. When innocent civilians are being attacked, this is something that has to be condemned. No matter how you look at it, no matter what is your political opinion, has to be condemned. It cannot continue like this. And if it's not condemned, those that are not condemning it are taking the position of supporting terror. And this is something that cannot be accepted.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. They will continue this conversation just after we go out of the live crossing there. So that's the Ambassador of Israel, Ambassador Ali, speaking to us about the situation, but also Israel's position in all this. So he'll be giving us some more information once we are done with this live. For Newzroom Afrika, it's back to you, Duduzile, in studio for now.
Okay, Ziniko, Mhlaba, thank you very much for that report. So we're keeping an eye out on two developments where the Middle East is concerned in South Africa, at least. The ANC marching to the Israeli embassy in Pretoria. That march has not gotten off as yet, as we heard from Newzroom Africa's politics editor. And now Ziniko Mhlaba at a prayer service in support of Israel in Ekurhuleni.